So, hi everybody, and welcome back to Positivity with me, Danielle. So, today's episode was actually supposed to be about defining a friend. It's supposed to be, I'm sure people see like all the questions I was asking. Certain people was telling me certain things that they felt that a friend was. So I was asking other people's opinions to see how more people felt about the situation. But I'm actually going to save that episode for my next episode because yesterday I had an emergency with my son. My youngest son was 2 years old, passed out. And at the time, I was actually around the corner at the store getting some milk. And my oldest son was here. And it was just crazy because everything happened so fast. And you could be so close but so far at the same time. And my son just handled it so well. He handled it very well. And it just made me think that I don't want to waste no time just sort of putting it out there how important it is for your kids to know about CPR, how important it is for your kids to know about first aid, how important it is for your kids to know when something is not right, when not only does your child need to inform you, you know, you could be upstairs sleeping, it could be anything. So not even important to inform you, but to also know when to call 911 or when to call someone else if they can't get in contact with you. I done heard kids say, you know, oh, I tried to do this, but my mom wouldn't pick up the phone. You know, it comes a time when you have to call someone else or alert someone else. Or even if you alert your mom and you don't think maybe that your parents going to be there in time to alert somebody else. So I just felt like I wanted to change this episode and sort of just to sort of give y'all, I guess, a intake on my situation and how it just hit me out of nowhere. Now, one thing, I work in the nursing field, as most people know, so I sort of already, you know, was teaching my kids about first aid and CPR, just in case, you know, they were with a friend and something happened, or just anything, you know. I got 3 boys. Anything can happen to any of them at any time, and something could happen to me, and something could happen to their grandmom or their cousins or just anyone in general. So I just felt like it was important for my children to sort of know, like, about CPR and where I keep my CPR mask, and just if they wanted to, you know, it's not a forceful thing. You can't force somebody to do CPR because more than likely they'll do it wrong. So that person has to be comfortable enough to do CPR, and they have to know that they have to call, you know, 911 or alert someone else or tell somebody to call 911. So there's a lot of procedures to that. But I know a lot of people think, you know, oh, why my kids need to know CPR, they don't do this. But you just never know. And yesterday made me very grateful for telling my son, you know, certain things, like with overheating. When I was a child, I used to have heat strokes. So I sort of like told my son about when I was young and I used to have heat strokes, and keep an eye on it when it comes to my children, because you never know really what's genetically passed down to your children. And you know, I just want them to keep eyes for everything, allergies and asthma. I don't have asthma, but you know, an opposite parent, or even sometimes it skips generation. It could be a grandparent or aunt, uncle, anything. It's just good to know. For one thing, it's good to know about your family history, and especially when it comes to like seizures or strokes or heart problems, or even, believe it or not, even like GI issues, where like people have like really bad constipation to the point where they're hospitalized. So people might not pay a lot of attention to that and just think it's by food you eat, but sometimes it's actually through genetics. So it's important to pay attention to every little thing that you can about your family history. Learn what you can, especially when you have children, so you know what to sort of look out for. It's also very important to let your older children, you know, just children when they're old enough to understand what you're saying, you know, 9, 8, 9, 10. Let them know about emergency situations, how to handle them, at least. If you know, if your child's too young to know how to do CPR or whatever, at least let them know, you know, you call authority, you call 911, and you explain where you are, you tell them what's going on, to have them emergency numbers just in case they gotta call somebody else, and you at work, or you, who knows, or something happens to you, God forbid, and they have their emergency, and they're like, oh, you know, my mom or my dad is who I call, so who else can I call? So it's just really important. It just hit me really hard, and it just made me think, like, I'm really grateful that I can actually say that, you know, my son handled the situation very well. And like I said, to be 3 minutes apart, 3 minutes away, and feel like it's a mile, you know, to just feel like it's so far away, to feel like you're almost in like another state when it's a bad situation like that, is crazy. It's crazy, and it's scary, and it's dangerous, because, you know, you're trying to get, especially if you're in a car, you're trying to get from A to B, and you're not worried about nothing else at that time but getting from A to B. And, you know, anything can happen. I could have been rushing home, I could have gotten a car accident, and I couldn't get to them, and I could have been right around the corner. But I'm so grateful that my son knew how to handle the situation, from calling me to calling my mom to, you know, just knowing to try to wake my son up, you know, and try to get him alert, and not to give him any fluids, and to get him in the ear. And he just handled it very well. I'm so proud of my son. I'm so grateful for my kids, period. And I don't know, it's just crazy. It's crazy. For things, you know, we never had any of these situations. We don't have seizures, strokes, anything in my family. But like I did have hot flashes and heat strokes at a young age. But I always thought it was just, you know, I didn't drink enough water, so I pushed fluids on my kids a lot. So it just hit me really hard, and it just made me want to tell other parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, just prepare your kids for anything, any type of emergency. I know a lot of the generation that we are in now don't really like to call 911, but when there is an emergency, you know, you have to let your kids know that there's different types of situations when it comes to the police. Because when you call 911, you don't just get an ambulance half the time. You'll get a fire truck, you'll get the police, and then the ambulance, or, you know, who knows. You have to let your kids know who's allowed to be in your house at the time. You might not be home, and maybe 911, the ambulance gotta come, and your kids like, I can't let no strangers in. You just never know. You just gotta prepare your kids for any situation. And like I said, it could be, don't just think that, yeah, I was at the store, and I had a 15, 16-year-old here. So don't think it's nothing like that. It's just the point that you could be asleep, or it can be you. You can be the emergency, or they can be walking home from school, or they can be anywhere, just anywhere. They could go to the store, and it can be an emergency. It's just always good for your kids to know. They could be at your grandparents' house, their grandparents' house, and, you know, if something happens, it's just really good for your kids to know, you know, how to handle an emergency situation, and to try to stay calm, which is really hard. It was hard for me, so I could just imagine how hard it was for my son or my nephew, or, you know. So it's just really good to acknowledge your kids about this situation, no matter how young they are. You know, have your kids want to help someone, whether it's a friend or a stranger. You know, you don't want your kids to get kidnapped. I'm not saying go tell your kids to talk to strangers or go with strangers or nothing. But if you're in a store and your kid's in the store and they see somebody passed out outside, they can go inside and alert, you know, the store manager or somebody. And, you know, you can save somebody's life. You just never know. And I just think it's really important, you know, to teach our kids to be courteous, but be smart and be aware. Because the world is a scary place. But I also feel like if everybody just doesn't care about nobody else, then we're all just going to die, and we're never going to support each other. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm sorry if this isn't the episode y'all wanted to see. But I hope I helped, and I hope you listen to me. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Bye. For today's quote of the day, it's raise your children how you will want someone else to raise theirs if yours was in an emergency. Okay, today's question of the day is, if something was to happen to your child or your loved one, wouldn't you want someone there to help your child? Wouldn't you appreciate somebody who's CPR certified and first aid? Think about it.